On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by River Wind Casino, we give you what we'll be watching for in OU versus Houston, and we preview the game with Jeremy Branham. We also preview the best games of week 2 of college football, and of course, we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, September 4th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by River Wind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of September, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Ted, before we get started with what we're watching for in OU versus Houston, we have to have a discussion about our YouTube channel real quick.
Okay.
So I am told that people subscribing to the YouTube channel helps it.
Okay.
I don't really know. It's an algorithm thing. I'm told it helps us if all they do is hit the little subscribe button. And I was looking at some of our analytics last night. 40% of people that watch our stuff on YouTube are not subscribed to our YouTube channel.
Oh, huh.
So we've got a 60-40 split. I don't know why it is that way. All I'm asking is please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and somehow, some way, it's supposed to really help our channel. I can't explain to you how it helps the channel, but it's supposed to. So
Huh.
if you're one of the 40%ers that are watching our stuff and you're not subscribing, please just hit that little subscribe button. That's all we ask.
We got 40% creepers out there, huh? Just lurking around, sneaking in
Shout
every now and then.
shout out to the 60%ers. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe. No big deal. Just go ahead and click the button.
First in the weeds video up on the YouTube channel. People seem to really be enjoying that. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to the YouTube channel, check
If
it
you would
out.
have subscribed, you probably would have got a notification, right?
Exactly. They absolutely would have. Subscribe and turn on notifications. All right, enough of that stuff. OU Houston. This one, it didn't have a ton of sizzle to begin with, Ted. And now it feels pretty sizzleless after UNLV went to Houston and beat them up 27-7, which, by the way, Houston scored on their last play of the football game.
Backup quarterback actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
Second team defense or backup guys, but he threw the ball well. I mean, threw it well enough to where even though it was late, I was like, it wouldn't shock me if maybe we saw him some.
Yeah, I agree with that. But so this game, the hope was, hey, Houston, Willie Fritz, a really good football coach. He'd bring a team in that was coming off a good win, and that would build some excitement. But that's not what happened. And really, all we got is, hey, we're wearing some sweet throwback jerseys.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
sizzle, man. The throwbacks.
Now, I will say this. UNLV is a good football team. And defensively, they are really good. I was talking to Brian Odom about him whenever I was watching on film. I was like, hey, your brother Barry's he's got himself a nice little defense. And their strong safety number one, Jalen Catalon, really good player, went to Arkansas, spent a little time at Texas. He's incredible at safety. But this just kind of ties in. Barry Odom says it's the best back end he's ever had anywhere he's coached at UNLV. So just So like they that wasn't a scrub that Houston got beat by in week one. That's a pretty solid UNLV football team.
Absolutely. I was impressed with that UNLV defense on tape. Impressed with them. Also, my goodness, the Houston offensive line. Let's just get into it. Ted, what are you watching for from OU's defense against Houston's offense?
You mentioned that the offensive line is the real weakness of Houston's offense. It's hard to really knock Donovan Smith, which we know him, played at Texas Tech for those that don't remember. I mean, absolutely looks the part. 6'6", 240 pounds. He can run around a little bit. He's tough to bring down. But he can't even drop back and hit his back foot before he's getting assaulted. So it's hard to really slam him for his performance against UNLV in week one. The run game stuff you'll get some outside zone. You'll get your standard inside zone, some counter stuff. They tried a little crack toss, try and hit the perimeter with some things. It's pretty standard run game. The quarterback run game is another part that they'll get to. They'll run the quarterback counter stuff. When they're backed up, they ran a quarterback like a lead draw at one point. So they'll let him run it in a variety of different ways, the zone read stuff as well. I actually like their two backs, 21 and 26. I think they're smaller guys that are real quick and they have some shiftiness, and they're pretty good out of the backfield in some of the receiving stuff, which is the main point of emphasis for me for our defense. They can't block anyone up front. UNLV brought a ton of pressure over and over and over because they just couldn't block them. So Houston got into the screen game, and I think that that's what we're going to see ourselves. There's only so many things you could do if you can't block the guys up front. Even though we defended the screens well in week one, you'll see traditional running back screen, which you don't see a whole lot in college football. Running back will come up like he's protecting, wait a count, and then release out, just a little bit to the side. It's almost like it was kind of not quite a midline screen, but it wasn't very wide for the traditional running back screen. Offensive line is going to protect a count, wipe the guys by, and try and get downfield. They'll run that. They'll run like a running back screen off of the outside zone. Ball out real wide like it's the outside zone. He'll pull it, little half roll, and then throw it back to the running back. They'll run the running back swing screen where it's just right now running back swinging out of the backfield, throw a little swing, and the offensive line is looping out there. You get I don't know what they call it, 3-by-1 with the back offset to the 3 side. And these guys on the front side are blocking, and the number 1 receiver comes back, comes behind the line of scrimmage, whatever people call that. You'll get that play as well.
The Lincoln Riley shallow cross screen.
Yes. You'll get that play. And you will get off of the outside zone stuff. You'll get boot off of that. But I've always called it G pass. I don't know what you call it, Gabe, where it looks like it's going to be boot, but he doesn't come back around. He sets up shorter in the pocket, and it's typically some downfield stuff, deeper. Like sometimes you'll get like double post or like the deep scissors route off of it. So they will run some of that stuff, but I expect a really, really good performance by our defense. They're not going to be able to block us up front. I think the only way they're going to be able to really move the ball is if we have mental mistakes and bust in the secondary in some of the pass coverage stuff. And miss tackles because the ball's going to be coming out of his hand right away. It's going to be catch. Late in the game, the second team quarterback came in and they just started throwing stuff. It almost looked like, they're throwing stop routes and almost looked like old school smoke where you're just pulling it and throwing it. It's not really RPO. It's just, you've got guys playing cover three and they're off on the outside and you're just trying to get the ball to the receiver right away. But I think that we should be able to dominate this offense really start to finish. And, other than, like I said, mental mistakes or bust are the only way I really see them being able to move the ball down the field.
Do you want to know what my initial reaction was watching Houston on tape, Houston's offense on tape?
Yes, of course.
I text OUSID Mike Hauk and asked what OU's team sack record in the game was. That was my initial reaction.
Didn't we have 9 against Texas at some point not too long ago?
He said the record is 9. It's been done 5 times. And I'm telling you, if Houston runs their actual offense, I think OU's defense can break that record in this football game if they want to. If Zach Elliott
break almost every play in that game.
It is. I have never been. I wouldn't even say upset, just disappointed in watching an offensive line on tape in my life. Like there is a difference between just sometimes you get beat physically, right? The guy across from you is just a better football player. He's a better athlete. He's bigger, stronger, faster. That happens. The amount of mental mistakes on that tape for Houston's offensive line is astounding. I don't know how their offensive line coach didn't get arrested during this game.
It's wild.
Because remember, you can watch the film on the sideline now.
Yeah.
I don't know how he didn't try to assault multiple members of his offensive line. It's in the amount of pass protection busts. It's insane. They're the worst empty protection team I've ever seen.
Yeah. I guess, and I should have asked Venables about this at the Rudy show. I don't know what the iPad replacement rule is over on the sideline. If, the offensive line coach smashes one over one of the linemen's head, like, do you get a free replacement on the iPad?
Great question. We may find out this game.
Probably will.
But other than, I could see them running a bunch of like speed sweep, jet sweep stuff.
Trying to get to the perimeter.
Because they're just not going to have success with traditional run game with what they've got up front. They're just not, man. Now, maybe they can get a few QB runs in there, gain an extra hat, but I was really, really surprised at how bad it looked from Houston on tape offensively. And it's all because their offensive line looks, I don't think they're quite as bad as Temple, but they're worse than Temple from an assignment standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, yep. It was a hard watch, man. I'm just telling you. It was elevating my heart rate and stress levels. And I was like, I don't think I can watch Houston's offensive line anymore.
Yeah, it was tough. And that's what I say. It's like, you'll look at the statistics and say, Donovan Smith's not a good quarterback. It's clear, but you can't really evaluate the guy. It's not a fair evaluation. I'm telling you, he is literally taking a hit on every single play. And it's not like drop back, sitting there in the pocket, evaluating, and then getting hit. It's catching the snap and trying to avoid a linebacker or defensive lineman instantly.
It's crazy to watch.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the guy. I don't know what else to say about their offense. They've got a couple guys at the skill spots that I think run well. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have. Now it's kind of hard to tell because they didn't have many plays developed down the field because the quarterback didn't have enough time. But it didn't look to me that they have some guy where you just go, oh my gosh, look at his speed. He could be a problem. But I don't know. I expect OU's defense, with the way that the defensive line looked in the opener, I expect OU's defense to completely dominate this football game.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Totally agree. Like I said, other than like some massive mental mistakes or guys taking extraordinary risks to make plays, I don't see a way that Houston's able to sustain drives and move the ball down the field on us. I don't.
Anything else that you're watching for from OU's defense in this game?
I, I want to see the defensive line. They had a really good week one. I this should be a great opportunity to build on it here and continue to get some of the guys that got late reps should see those guys get quite a bit of game action as well and continue to develop that depth.
I think the only other thing for me is Woody Washington and Gentry Williams. Is this the week they get back into the mix a little more? Even though looked really good from Kenai Walker and Des Malone at the corner spot, but are those guys healthy enough at this point to get back and kind of worked into a rotation? Then maybe what does that rotation at the corner spot look like? But other than that, I really do think if Houston tries to run their offense, 10 sacks is on the table. I'm being dead serious. That would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Nope. I totally agree.
All right, let's talk about what we're watching for from OU's offense against Houston. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. Download the Love's Connect app today. It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
A lot of things are changing for OU football heading into the SEC, but one thing is remaining the same, the football. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown to order the official game ball of the Oklahoma Sooners, the Nike Vapor Elite, exclusively from Big Game Football Factory, is the only authentic football that OU will use on game day. It's got the OU and SEC logos on it and is the perfect gift for any Sooner fan. Each ball comes with a certificate of authenticity to certify the football received was commissioned and created to the specification requested by the Sooners. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown and order yours today.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company that is now the official drinkware partner of the Oklahoma Sooners. Listen to this. Simple Modern is creating unique, exclusive in-game drinkware, which will be new at every home game. Grab your never-before-seen OU Sooners refillable, reusable cups at OU's concessions all season long. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also know you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. Things to watch for OU's offense versus Houston's defense. First of all, you look at Houston's defense, 4-2-5 personnel, but it appears to me they like to play an odd spacing. That meaning head up, nose on the center, head up or inside shade, guys on the tackles, and then kind of more of a stand-up, traditional outside linebacker type of position. Now, they have the ability to kick into an even front where it's two defensive linemen on each side. The outside linebacker body, he's still standing up, though. So you'll see it look like a 3-down front, but pretty much every single snap, they're going to have 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. It does change how you block things in pass protection and in the run game, depending on, hey, are they in that even front with 2 guys on each side, or is it that odd spacing?
When they line up in the odd spacing with the stand-up guy, are they moving to an overfront like on the snap, or are they playing it?
No, they're playing it straight up. Like they don't get into over hardly at all. Now they did get into, what they did get into is like a traditional underfront against, I want to say it was 12 personnel from UNLV. And I recognize that. Shade 5-9, 3-5 on the
like it.
backside. How about that?
I like that a lot, actually.
But it is Houston's, when you look at their game against UNLV, Houston's defense was not the problem. They did not bring a ton of pressure, didn't blitz much, and I think they only gave up 311 yards of offense, and they gave up 198 rushing yards. But UNLV does a lot of interesting stuff on offense, and they ran it 46 times.
Did they have the same coordinators last year? Did he
Yeah,
stay?
yeah, that go offense where they do some things with their running backs that no one else in college football does.
Right.
And
I
so
bet
for
that's
them,
why they didn't blitz, right? Is
yeah,
because of that offense.
it's a unique offense, and Houston's defense, I thought they looked good. They are clearly a better group than what we saw from Temple a week ago. And the conversation has to start with Houston's defensive line first, OU's offensive line. BV said Troy Everett is close. I don't think he's going to play in this football game. He didn't go through warmups. He didn't even have a jersey on against Temple, so it's hard to imagine that he's going to be available for this one. I was pretty surprised when BV said Jake Taylor it sounds like good to go
Well,
because he
I
didn't
think he
really
said available.
available. Okay. There's two kinds of available. He's ready to go. He's ready to start the football game available. And hey, if something really, really bad happens, we can throw him out there available.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's more of the latter.
Agree.
I think they want him to get as healthy as possible before that Tennessee game, especially after watching. I assume maybe their mentality changed after watching Houston's offensive line.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the O-line lineup looks like, but that is certainly interesting because kind of moving to some run game thoughts. I just want to see an expanded run game. That's what I'm watching for. We really just saw that inside zone concept and split zone last week. I would like to see some more counter. I continue to believe that that's going to be a bigger part of what they do as the season progresses. I would love to see some designs where the ball gets to the edges of the defense a little more, whether that's outside zone or, pin pull concepts, just threatening the edge of the defense.
You think
But
that might come in that 21 personnel stuff we saw? I mean, that looked pretty good. They didn't do it much, but I mean, feels like running back's a strong group for us.
right. And I think Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum, like that 21 personnel group, that looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get extremely creative out of that stuff. But the key to the run game for OU in this game is pad level on the interior. They are short and stout at defensive tackle. 92 Carlos Allen looks about 5'11", and Anthony Holmes, number 18, looks about 6 foot. They play with good pad level. They're physical, got good hands, good feet.
That's not the guy that's been there forever, is it?
They are going to be there. They're going to be harder to move than the guys from Temple were last week. And we talked about how the movement wasn't great last week. So the technique, the pad level of whoever plays in the interior for OU's offensive line, you better be locked in, man, because these guys are not going to be easy to move.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is hopefully we get to see start to I don't know if you could do it. What do you think of Hickman? I mean, it was kind of the same thing. He said better than expected, but does that means he probably won't go, right?
I will make fun of Branson Hickman to his face if he came out of a football game for an injury that he could play the next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. I hope he's available. I'm kind of joking about that, but I hope he can go because the offensive line looked its best those first 10 snaps when he was in the football game. So I don't know. I went back and watched the game again, Hito Zaida, he was moving people. At least that's something. So I don't know if we're going to see more of 77 for the Sooners, but we'll see. I know that Bill Beanbo, he will play multiple lineups. He will continue to search for the best five. That's how he typically treats these preseason games, these non-conference games. So I'm as curious as anyone as to what that lineup's going to look like.
Yeah.
But looking at some situations where I think OU can run it effectively, there are several snaps of Houston playing a six-man box to 11 personnel when the tight end's in the core. So if Bauer Sharp is in the core, whether that's in line, in a wing, even in the backfield, if you've got six guys on six guys, you got to be able to run it at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
If you got six hats for six hats, I don't care what it is, inside zone, split zone, counter, whatever. It should all be good if the numbers are even. And you add what Jackson Arnold can do with his legs on top of that, and you gain an extra hat. So all of those situations, if they're going to play a six-man box to win, you're in 11 and Bauer Sharp is in the core, you have to produce situations where it's one-on-one in space for OU's running backs. And this is something we've talked about the last couple of years. When those running backs, when Barnes and Sawchuk and Tatum, when those guys get those one-on-one situations, Franklin, they have to make guys miss. They have to win. That is your one-on-one matchup as a running back. You have to make that guy miss. You have to win your one-on-ones. Do we finally have backs that can win those one-on-ones?
Well, there was quite a few opportunities in game one with it, and we got the old ankle pick several times. And, hopefully you see it in the first game. Even though they scrimmage a lot and go live a lot in training camp, it's a little bit different. Now you got the feeling. Now you could see it on film. So hopefully we're able to make some better plays out of that. And it wasn't bad in week one, but we should be able to take some of those and turn them into massive chunks.
I hope you are correct. And if you do have successful runs when they play it that way, that's when they have to commit another guy to the box. That's when it opens up all your RPO game off of it, when you're just doing a box count and you've got the advantage on the outside, whether you're throwing quicks or you've got man on the side and you can throw, kind of a different variety of the route tree to that side on the RPO stuff. But the goal should be force them to commit a seventh element to the box and then attack them through the air once you do. We'll see if it develops that way. You mentioned the 12 personnel stuff, Ted. I want to see more of it. My favorite snap of the entire football game was the first play of the second half last week when they got in 12 and Jake Roberts was in line and Bauer Sharp was in the wing position and they ran counter. Now they ran GT counter read, and Jackson Arnold pulled the RPO like he should, but I think that they can get in that personnel grouping and do some damage, whether it's counter, whether it's, kind of a stretch play to them. It's a open side zone run away from them. I think that they can build on that personnel grouping. And it's interesting on tape when teams, and I went back and watched Tulane because it's Tulane's defensive staff from a year ago. When teams get into that formation, right? Tight end in line, another tight end in the wing. I'm not sure what you guys called it as a defense, Ted, but they essentially get in a traditional 3-4 defensive structure, which kind of made my heart happy. I was like, I recognize that. You don't see that very often in college football anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of great angles, especially in gap run schemes against that traditional 3-4 defense. So I really hope we see more of that from Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley, because I do think that is something that if they can build on, that I think can be really, really successful for them. And throwing out a 12, I think throwing out a 12 creates the best matchups in the pass game. And that's why I like it so much, is because if you've got two tight ends that can get after it as blockers, it creates a lot of favorable matchups because it dictates some of the things that defenses can do from a coverage standpoint. It limits their options.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what I'd like to see. And here's the thing. You have to be armed with all of your available weapons. The run game, the pass game, some of the zone read stuff, the option game, and then the RPO game. You have to be armed with it. But I think in this game and maybe even next week, I don't know, I would like to see them like come out of the RPO mindset and really focus on moving people up front. Like, let's not even worry about, like, Jackson Arnold can give that look or whatever, if he's trying to freeze the overhang player, whatever, that's fine. But up front, man, I'd like to see them just turn those guys loose and let them focus on getting some movement up front and not be worried about climbing to the next level and stuff like that. But, I don't know.
We'll see. I I would love some just, hey, we're giving it here runs. You know
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Some pass game thoughts. I want to see everything happen faster for Jackson Arnold. His decision making was good in the opener. I want it to continue to be good, but the processing has to speed up. And that's the type of progression you should see as a guy plays more games. The decision making becomes quicker. So does he process things quicker and more efficiently this week than he did last week? I want to see that improve. The pocket should be good. I don't think Houston has a substantial pass rush. Just watching it on tape, I think 45, Nadame Tucker is probably their most natural pass rusher off the edge. Now, 5 is a big, long-armed guy, and I could see him, winning some one-on-ones at some point. But I think the pocket should be good, and Jackson Arnold should feel comfortable and be able to let some of the things develop down the field that did develop last week, but he just wasn't patient enough to wait for it, Ted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. And the trust in the offensive line is something that, it's earned, honestly, by, rep after rep of trusting those guys that they're going to get it blocked up. And, you can look back early in like Baker's career before he trusted his offensive line and ended up having a great offensive line, but he was quick to pull it down and run, always quick to pull it down and run, try and get outside and create some space. Now, as the offensive line got better and he trusted him more, he stood in the pocket way longer. I think that's going to be the same with Jackson Arnold. And I honestly think he does a great job of standing in there and delivering the ball while he's taking hits. But I totally agree. Stay in there a little bit longer, let some of those things develop. And hey, if you got to pull the ball down for a second, sidestep a guy, and then reset up, you can do that too without having to get into the full scramble drill.
Think it can be a big day for Bauer Sharp in the middle of the field. I don't think that their linebackers are particularly good in zone coverage. I don't really think their linebackers are good at much. I think it's a weakness of their team. Going back and watching Tulane last year, I was curious, SMU, kind of some similarities offensively. They did not cover SMU's tight end well a year ago. So I think that if you can get him matched up against linebackers, even against their safeties, I think Bauer Sharp is athletic enough to go make some big plays. And 13 personnel.
Ooh, huh?
This is what, when you ask, hey, do they do anything interesting defense? That's what it was. 13 personnel. New Mexico ran some 13 personnel in their game last week. Houston played traditional under defense to it. And it looked like in the spot I think Bauer Sharp would be in, kind of off the ball, it looked like a safety would have Bauer Sharp man-to-man one-on-one. And I like that matchup. I have no idea if Caden Helms or Caden McIntyre showed enough to where, hey, we want to get into 13 and put that personnel grouping on tape in this game. I don't know. But if you do jump at it, I think you could throw out of it, and I think Bauer Sharp's your target. Or would not hurt if you get, Deion Burks one-on-one on the outside. Would not hurt at all.
Yeah, no, I would like that a lot because even though it's 3 tight ends on the field, we can have 3 drastically different players. You can have Jake Roberts, who's your big inline guy. You can have Bauer Sharp, who's kind of your, I don't know, Swiss Army knife, can do everything, can move, can line up outside. And then Caden Helms or McIntyre, who are more split out guys. So yeah, I would love to see some variety. Like if that's one of those that I feel like that if that's, and I guess you can present that early to people, make them have to build a game plan for it later on. But that's almost one that they may try and keep in the back pocket.
Yeah. If they have that, I don't think this is the game they show it. I'm just hoping, because I think it would create a really favorable matchup for Bauer Sharp. I do want to see him throw out of 12 personnel though, especially in the red zone. In the UNLV game, when UNLV was in 12, down kind of in the high red area and the true red zone area, just a lot of bodies close to the line of scrimmage for Houston, and some one-on-ones on the outside. If you can create that matchup for a Deion Burks, for a Nick Anderson, if he can go.
What do you forgot to ask you about that? What do you think about Nick Anderson?
I'll believe he plays when he plays. That's where I'm at with it.
If he's like borderline, is this, if he's not 100%, do you think they take another opportunity? Yeah.
Ted, we both watched the same Houston offense.
Yeah.
They're not going to score many points. They're just not.
You could probably win the game 3-0 if you had to, but let's hope that doesn't happen.
So we'll see. But Deion Burks with the 3 touchdowns last week, I think he can score 3 more this week.
Yeah.
Their nickel position.
I picked him too, actually, as my bold take.
Whoa, I love that. Yeah. They call their nickel spot the anchor, right? The one that we call cheetah. They call it the anchor, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But Juwan Gasson, number 23, and number 15, Hershey McLaurin, which, what a great football name. Those guys can't cover Deion Burks. Now, we'll see what Seth Luttrell does with Burks now that Farouk is out for a significant period of time. Because if you want to play Petaway in the slot, do you move Burks to the outside? I think
Venables said that Sunday night. He said, you can play Burks, you can move him around, play him outside. He did mention that, so it wouldn't shock me at all.
So we'll see what that looks like, but I don't think the guys that play nickel for Houston can cover Burks, and I certainly don't think they can tackle him, especially 15. That guy's not good at tackling in space.
He had 9 touches in week 1. How many do you think he has in week 2?
Hopefully he only plays a half.
Yeah.
But
I know you said the other day you'd like to see him with I think 15 he needs, targets.
Yeah, between targets, I kind of view targets and touches like in the same category. He needs to have 12 to 15 targets / touches every single game.
Yeah.
He's that good.
I agree. And
I don't think he's going to complain about that.
No.
Get the man the rock.
He might complain about that. He'll want it 20, which is good.
Anything else you kind of have your eye on? OU's offense versus Houston's defense?
I don't think so. I would really like to see more of the 2-back stuff 21 or 20, like however they feel like they want to present it. Get the ball to the outside, because let's be honest, I hope we get healthy and I hope we improve on the offensive line and I hope it happens fast. But there's a chance that that could end up being a weakness for us all season. And a good way to mitigate some of that is developing perimeter run stuff and with a little bit more variety if you can't just straight up move people off the ball. So, well, like we said, with that two back personnel, you can get some of the hand sweep stuff outside zone. And whenever you start doing that stuff, then that's whenever the real counter actually opens up. Whenever you threaten outside and you can run counter off of that, when you're moving those backers, then that's whenever some of that other stuff can really open up. So I would really like to see that.
Dare I say, some play action pass off of it?
Yes.
What?
Please.
I I
Please.
I think we're all hoping to see Jackson Arnold push it down the field a little more this week as well.
I bet they do.
You got to be able to run it, dude. You got to be able to run it
Yes.
efficiently and force them to commit more bodies to the box. If you don't, they can remain conservative, stay on top of everything in zone coverage. That's pretty much what happened a week ago.
Yeah. I,
So
I heard I heard Caleb Kelly in the huddle on Monday at the Rudy show with you guys. His bold prediction was, what do you say, 2 touchdowns of 40 or more yards through the air?
yep.
I mean,
My bold prediction was Bauer Sharp over 100 yards receiving.
yeah. I'm just saying though, Caleb Kelly tends to be walking around the hallways and stuff up there, and maybe knows of an effort to push it down the field a little bit. I'd like that.
I'd like that a lot. All right, let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you'll be watching for in OU versus Houston. This first one comes from Eric James. Does the offensive line get more push on the line? And how much improvement do we see on third down conversions? I'd kind of erase the third down debacle from my memory. And yeah, it would be great point, Eric. It would be great to see the Sooners go somewhere between 40 and 50% on third down.
We're going to need to go 100% to get back into the vicinity we want to be at.
That performance kind of just kills you for an entire season when it comes to your third down conversion ranking. Yeah, I'm just going to be real.
It,
You're going
it
to be
really
you're going to be
does.
low the entire season.
It really does. Yeah. And because of like how where it ended up, I would not be surprised if instead of the running it or the quick stuff on third and 7 to 9 to set up the fourth and go for it, they may table that a little bit this week and just push the ball past the chains and try and convert on third.
I know one former Butkus and Bednarik award winner that would be very happy if they did that.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
This next one comes from Manuel C50, who says, looking to see if Andrell Anthony is more involved in the rotation this week. That's a good one. I mean, we saw a handful of snaps from Andrell in the Temple game, but yeah, it's. I think the hope is let's get him a little more each week and really build up his confidence in that knee. And with Farouk out, Andrell Anthony, like, we need the guy. Got to
Mm-hmm.
have him. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm interested in what his snap count looks like in this one, Ted.
What, he had 2 targets, had the drop, and then had another nice little stop route, and it looked like you know easy ways just to get him the ball. Those were quick little 5-7 yard option routes, or just hooking up. You could try and give him the football, let him just continue to come along. His like his trajectory is probably, and you could speak to this, as much mental right now as it is physical, and just getting those opportunities is going to be big for him.
Yeah. So we'll have an eye on Andrell. Hopefully he continues to look better and better physically. All right,
You
let's
think the
learn a
young
little.
guys are mainly Petaway, Zion Reagans, and carry on that get in?
It's what it seems like it.
Yeah,
Kearney, a little bit maybe,
burning. Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that wide receiver rotation looks like. I know this. I trust Emmett Jones to make the proper decision. I love
yeah.
that guy. Let's learn a little more about the Houston Cougars from Jeremy Branham. But first,
All you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition plays better and tastes better.
and three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, here is Jeremy Branham. It is our pleasure to be joined by the sideline reporter for the Houston Radio Network. Jeremy Branham is in the house. Jeremy, how we doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to a trip to Norman this weekend. My wife's from Norman, so she's actually making the trip. She went to Norman North, I think that it is. So she decided,
Timberwolves.
yeah, we have some. She has some family there, so the boys are looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I hate to kind of kill the vibe by asking about what happened against you at LV, but
Yeah.
what it seems like a lot of things went wrong, but just how disappointing of a debut was that for Willie Fritz and this football team?
It depends on your what you thought of the team coming into the year. It depends on what your expectations were. I think realistic expectations, 63 newcomers, lose most of your statistical leaders from a year ago, first year head coach. I think realistic expectations is that, it's kind of a rebuilding year to lay the foundation for what's to come. And Fritz has won everywhere that he's been. I have no doubt he's going to do that. But there's also the excitement of a new football season. You waited all summer for football to kick off. There's buzz in the program, looking forward to what's ahead. So you want to start off with a bang. And, it didn't. It didn't go well for the Cougars. The offense could never get it going, had trouble protecting the ball or protecting the quarterback. So it was just one of those days where everything that could go wrong went wrong. UNLV is a good team. I think UNLV is a bit of a dark horse too to be
They
the
are.
Group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. So it was a really good opponent. 63 newcomers, first game out of the gate. Yeah, it was just a cumulative of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought one of the bright spots was the backfield, and they didn't get a whole lot of opportunities because some of the struggles on the line of scrimmage, but I
Mhm.
feel like there's some good quickness there, some playmaking ability.
Yeah, Parker Jenkins, a really good freshman year a year ago, probably will be the leading rusher, knock on wood, barring injury, anything like that. Stanford's another guy that they like. Stacy Sneed didn't see a whole lot of him as somebody who has some explosion, a little bit of juice too. And Fritz mentioned that Friday, Monday, in his day after, 2 days after press conference was we abandoned the run far sooner than we should. A lot of that was because we couldn't block it. but we should have been committed to the run more than we were. You see Parker Jenkins and doesn't have very many carries. Sanford didn't have many carries. And the game script also kind of took you out of it. You were down multiple possessions, so it's hard to be committed to the run when you're down by 2 scores, especially in the second half. But yeah, they don't want to. That's not something that they want to do. They want to be able to run the football. They have to be able to block it. But Parker Jenkins and Sanford and Stacy Snead, I think, will be players that you see more of as the season goes on. Now, this week's going to be a beast for sure, but as they get into conference play, yeah, they want to run the ball more than they did for sure.
Jeremy, what do you think the quarterback position is going to look like for Houston in this game?
Yeah, Donovan Smith listed starter. I don't think that they're going to go away from him. They did use Chris a little bit. They used him for one series. That was planned before the game, though. Some people saw that and oh no, they're benching Donovan Smith. There's a quarterback controversy. That was designed. They wanted to give him a series. They let everybody know that before the game, and then he was a little bit banged up. I don't think it's a severe injury. So if he's available to go, I think you might see him for a series or two, depending on his health. But Donovan Smith's the quarterback of the Houston Cougars. Late in the game, Uwe Ale came in, who lefty, can kind of sling it around a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me to see him at some point, maybe later in the year, or maybe a series here or there against Oklahoma. But this is Donovan Smith's football team.
And it's hard to be critical under tremendous amount of pressure the entire football game. UNLV was bringing the heat. Um, what's the situation on the offensive line? Do you expect changes there, or just try and regroup and come out and have some better execution?
Yeah, and that was Fritz's really the whole demeanor he had Monday was, look, everybody's got to do 1/11th of the job. You didn't put a whole lot of blame on Donovan because like, hey, sometimes he could have played better, sometimes he could have made better decisions, but at the same time, like you said, it's very difficult to get into your reads, get into your progressions, know where to go with the football whenever you have zero time. Fritz alluded to some changes on the offensive line Monday. He talked about, look, we got to do what's in the best interest of the Houston Cougars. He didn't specify what those changes were. Mentioned that they could also kind of reconfigure the five. Maybe it's the same five, but maybe they're in different positions. So I think they're going to be searching. I think they'll be searching to see what the best mix is, who the best five are. It wouldn't surprise me if they use the Oklahoma game a little bit, maybe to stick with their starters for the first few series, maybe a quarter or two, and then okay, let's reevaluate. Let's see what this guy looks like here. Let's see what this guy looks like there. So I think it's a work in progress, and I think we might see some different configurations of the five on Saturday.
I think that's a good idea after what I watched on tape from that O line. I think the search should be on. Jeremy, moving to the defensive side of the football. How'd you feel the Cougars defense played against UNLV?
Yeah.
I thought that they held up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I thought that they held their head above water. They played pretty well considering that they were not really put in great situations. A lot of short drives on the offensive side. So they were back on the field a lot. Played a lot of plays. The field position wasn't always fantastic. Maybe a little bend but don't break. Like they had a few red zone stops. They forced a missed field goal, had an interception in the end zone. I thought the defense played pretty well. Fritz was pretty complimentary of the defense, said he didn't like how they were tackling early, but felt that that was something as the game went on that they started to improve on. So, yeah, I thought the defense played pretty good. Of the three phases of the game, I thought that one was clearly the best, certainly better in the offense. Special teams had a couple of returns that were negated by injury or by a penalty. So I think that's an area the Cougars might be good at. Like Fritz kind of hangs his hat on special teams. They have some good returners and had two good returns against UNLV, but they were just brought back. But yeah, defense was the best phase of the three for Houston Saturday.
Do you expect a change up in game plan on defense? UNLV is kind of a one-off offense. There's not a lot of people that do what they do. Kind of forces you to be a little more basic. You think there might be some more risk taken on the defensive side?
I don't know about the risk. I don't know if they want to put their secondary exposed to one-on-one stuff or trying to defend some of the Oklahoma explosive receivers in space. But Sheil Wood, who's the defensive coordinator at Houston, was brought over by Fritz from Tulane. He's very multiple. He plays a lot of different defenses, so he's not willing. I mean, he's willing to mix it up. Like one week against UNLV, he might be doing something. He might be running three different defenses against Oklahoma on Saturday. So it's very matchup dependent. But he'll be very multiple. He's willing to throw a bunch of stuff out there. UNLV, you're right. They're very different with what they want to do. But yeah, I think you'll see a lot of different, trying to mix it up a little bit. If he finds something that's working, probably will stick with it. If it's not working, I don't think that they'll hesitate at all to switch some things up. But they do pride themselves on being multiple defensively.
For the OU fans that listen to this, Jeremy, who are the guys on the defensive side of the ball that they should have their eye on for Houston? Like who are this defense's playmakers in your eyes?
Yeah, AJ Halsey would be the first one that I would mention. Safety who came into the season is one of the guys on the defense that was, hey, this is going to be one of our best players. Returner from last year, and he had an interception against UNLV, really good interception too. Came off his man, picked off a pass that was floating into the end zone. Pretty good return out of it too. So AJ Halsey is one of those guys. Jamal Morris, linebacker that had a good game. A good game against UNLV, wearing the green dot. I expect him to get some more snaps. And then I think there's some defensive linemen that have a chance to be guys who can wreck the passing game. Like a Brandon Mack is somebody who has all the tools and started to come out of it a little bit last year. He had a game last year where he had 2 sacks, couple tackles for losses, and it's like, here we go. This is the guy that we were all expecting. And then he gets hurt the very next game early in the game, and he's out for the year. So they have a couple of guys like that who have the potential. It's just a matter of they haven't done it yet, and then they need to do it. And then who's the guy that actually gets the opportunity to do that? And I think they have a couple of options that could be that. Brandon Mack's the one to me that has the biggest upside.
Coming in as a big underdog, going on the road, it's going to be a tough environment. It's going to be hard to get the win. But are there some benchmarks you feel like Houston needs to hit to be able to come home and feel like they accomplished something?
Yeah, I think they want to play better. You're never going to go into a game if you're one of the coaches or one of the players like, okay, let's lose this game by 20. Let's cover the spread. But I do think that everybody's realistic with, where Houston is at in the first year of Willie Fritz and then who the opponent is. I do think everybody understands that. To me, it's improve. It's get better. A lot of the talk around the program, and even Fritz has mentioned, like, we look at that basketball program as something that we can model ourselves after, and that's kind of the roadmap to how we're going to get better. Like Kelvin Sampson has proven that you can win at Houston at a high level. Now, can you do it in football where there's more scholarships, there's more NIL, all of these things? That's to be determined. But a lot of people look at the Kelvin Sampson basketball program as the model for Houston. And when Willie Fritz came here, like, look, Sampson did it. We believe we can do that same thing. So if you go back and you look at Sampson's first year at Houston, he was 13-19. And he talks about that season too, where it's like, hey, we didn't win very many basketball games. We weren't very good, but that was the most important year to where we are now as a program because it was about building the culture. It was instilling the principles. It was, this is who we're going to be, and these are our non-negotiables. He was benching his best players to set the tone for what his program was going to be. He was setting the tone. This is Houston Cougar basketball. You're not going to play with the tenacity that we're known for now. You're not going to play because 13-19 isn't very much different than 15-17. What's the greater goal here? Is it to win and build your culture and set the program up for the future, or is it to go 15-17? So I think you're going to see some of that from Fritz, where it's, hey, we might not make a bowl game this year. We might go 4-8 instead of 5-7. We might go, 2-9 or 2-10 instead of 5-7. But it's about building the culture. And I think that's the most important thing this year is that you set the principles for what your program is going to be. And I think he's going to do that. So in terms of what does this year look like and like what's the success for this year, I would say that. But I would also say improvement. Like if you're going to be a coach that builds your program on player development and getting the most out of your players, it needs, you have to get the most out of your players. So look better in game 10 than you did in game 1. So I think that's really the realistic, where does Houston need to be? as you look as this season going to November and then December. See improvement, so see the program get better, and I think we will.
I'm not betting against Willie Fritz. Guy's a heck of a football coach. Jeremy, we appreciate the time, and sounds like we'll see you on Saturday, man. Let's go.
Yeah, one thing that does disappoint me. Why did they close down Sooner Dairy, or was it Dairy Sooner? I can't remember. I always get them mixed up. They had their malts were unbelievable and great cheeseburgers. It disappoints me.
Some things in life just don't make sense, Jeremy.
Man. That's it. What do you? I guess maybe you have to go buy Classic 50 now and check that one out on Lindsay Street.
Okay, I haven't done that one, but I was bummed out whenever I heard that. My wife likes old school bagel, so I'm sure we'll stop there.
There you go. All right, Jeremy. Hey, man, appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Anytime, guys.
It was a rough week 1 for the Cougars.
Yes, it was. They'll be looking to build on it though, and try and turn things around a little.
No doubt about it. All right, let's preview the best games of week 2 in college football. But first, Schwab Meat loves football. They make delicious smoked meats, hot dogs, and sausages for us to enjoy before, during, and after football games. You should go load up on schwabmeat.com and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab also loves the football players in Oklahoma. They've partnered with Danny Stutzman and Nick Martin because those two linebackers got that dog in them. And Schwab should know dogs are what they do. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
Insurica launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered, from small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com, and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. opolisclothing.com, promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. Got some good ones in week 2 of college football.
Yes, we do.
Let's start in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Number 3, Texas takes on the number 10 Michigan Wolverines. Texas is currently a 7.5-point road favorite. This will be big noon kickoff, so we got an 11 a.m.er Central Time on Fox. What do you think, Ted? 7.5. That feels like an awfully large spread for the defending national champions at home. But they didn't look... The offense didn't look super crisp in the opener against Fresno State, even though I think Fresno State's a pretty good football team. You got the 2-quarterback system with Davis Warren and Alex Orji. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Meanwhile, Texas they look sharp in their opener. What do you think?
Well, I watched some Michigan, watch their defense specifically, and they are really, really, really good. Their front seven is Fresno. Their offensive line is it just goes backwards on every play. Run game, pass game, it doesn't matter. The line of scrimmage is absolutely dominated in a way like we were talking about the Houston game where you got guys coming free left and right. That's not what I'm talking about. Fresno is well coached. They're blocking the right guys, but they're just getting absolutely manhandled like you don't see a whole lot in college football. The backers are smart. They're physical. They play downhill. When you watch their defense, everyone is where they're supposed to be on every single snap. And on top of that, they are big and they are athletic. Secondary covers great. Safeties tackle really well when they come down into the box. They present, they didn't show a whole lot against Fresno, but they'll give you some different looks up front. They'll get in bare. They'll play their two interior guys straight up in two eyes, and they're really good on the interior. They rotate through a bunch of guys on the edge, and I I don't man, I am shocked that Texas is a 7.5-point favorite.
I would take the points with Michigan. And I know that Texas knows what they have at quarterback with yours, and Michigan, it's definitely a little up in the air. But I trust Michigan's defense to make things difficult on Texas' offense. I don't think Texas has a Malia type of offensive line. I think if they're going to find success in the run game, it's going to be perimeter stuff. And they run a lot of pin pull. They like to get out on the edges. I just have a hard time imagining them having success in between the tackles.
Yeah. And that's what, they're going to, I think they're going to have to try and spread Michigan out. And I know that they're going to be, way better at the skill position than Fresno was. It's not even close. But at the same time, it's not like Fresno was I don't even know if they're good or not at the skill position, because a lot of it just doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The coverage is perfect. They are under and over guys whenever they have the fire zone stuff going. They are just really smart, really disciplined. They trust one another because they're all in the right spots. So, even if you spread them out, I just don't know that that's going to be a quick, easy answer for anything.
I think Sarkisian's so good that he'll scheme some big plays up.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have some big chunk plays, and that will get them multiple scoring opportunities in this game. The interesting discussion for me is the other side. I think Michigan's going to be able to run it against Texas. Just watching them in their opener, I think this is the game where they really feel the loss of Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy to the NFL.
They were way better equipped for this matchup last year.
Jermaine Lole and Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins, those guys are not Murphy and Sweat in the interior. Now, I do think that Michigan's not as good as I thought they'd be at center, and definitely not as good as I thought they'd be at right guard. But I still think those guys can move Texas off the football. And it's like watching two different sports, watching what Texas does offensively versus watching what Michigan does offensively. So I actually think this can be a higher scoring game than people think, because I think Michigan's going to be able to move the ball. And then I trust Sarkisian to be able to scheme some things up and for Texas to be able to score some points against an elite Michigan defense. But from a betting standpoint, no chance I'm laying 7.5 with the Longhorns at the Big House. There's just no chance. There is this. A bunch of these guys on Texas's team were a part of the team that went to Tuscaloosa and won last year.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some confidence there. I don't think they're going to be intimidated walking into the Big House by that environment, because there's going to be belief there because they did it a year ago. So I do think that matters some, but I just think that I think Michigan's better at the line of scrimmage. I think Texas is better at quarterback. I don't know which one to weight more than the other, but I think it's going to be a great football game, and I think it's going to be really, really close. I can see either team winning it, but I don't think it's a game where one of these teams ends up winning by double digits. That would surprise me.
Yeah. I don't know. From what I saw of Michigan's defense, when you have, it's hard to go in and win in a tough place on the road in a big environment. But whenever they've got what I don't know. They may not be better defensively than Georgia, but that may be the only people they're not better than. And I'm not even sure they're not like right there with or better than Georgia. When you have a defense like that and 105,000, I don't know how many that place holds. It's a lot. That is what gets really, really difficult. And I think like a lot of offenses like Texas, like we've been there in the past with our offenses, you really build on momentum. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get that momentum going. This is going to be a huge test for Quinn Ewers. This is a bigger test than going into Alabama last year. Alabama got good last year. They did not look like Michigan's defense looks like right now whenever Texas went to Tuscaloosa last year. But, you're right. Sarkisian is a big factor here with how good of a coordinator he is. Quinn Ewers looked good in week 1. He's got a ton of experience up to this point playing in big football games. But I'm going to take Michigan to win the game. Tight. I think it's going to be lower scoring just because how good their defense is and the way they play offense. I just don't know how many possessions Texas is going to get. If you typically get 12 in a game, if you average 12, I would say in this game you may get 9, you may get 8, and that's going to affect that number. I mean, how many touchdowns? If you got 8 drives against Michigan's defense, how many touchdowns are you going to score?
Not many.
Yeah.
I think Ewers has to be elite in this game. When the big plays are there to be made, he has to make them. He can't be late with the football, and he certainly can't turn it over.
Right.
Can't turn it over. So I would keep an eye on Texas right tackle position. I think they have a bit of a weakness there. But I don't. I want no business of
the offensive line. It is going to show up in a hurry against that front.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like Michigan in the game. Would I take Michigan money line? No, I would not. I would.
It's scary because of
the
just how good Texas's offense is. Like
I just have a ton of respect for Sarkisian as a play caller and play designer. I think he's really, really good.
Yep. And that's that's one of the problems that Texas has is Michigan's got a new defensive coordinator. So like how much do you really have? Like what's going to be up their sleeve is I guess what you don't really know what to plan for.
Moving on to the next game. Colorado traveling to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Cornhuskers. This is a 6:30 kickoff on NBC. Nebraska currently a 7.5-point favorite. And Ted, all eyes will be on the quarterbacks in this one. Dylan Raiola and Shedeur Sanders. This should be fun, man.
I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. I don't know why it is. Are the rest of the Sooners like me really pulling for Nebraska? I don't know. It just feels like college football is better whenever Nebraska is a good, solid program. Dylan Raiola looked good in week 1. They're not Nebraska is not back yet. They've got some pieces that look good. True freshman, first game. You have to be really excited with what you saw from Dylan Raiola. Shedeur Sanders, though, is like, it's a diamond in the rough. Colorado has just a small handful of really good players. I thought, what's his name? Jimmy Horn. I thought he looked really good. He's exciting to watch. But, being in Nebraska, I think is going to be a big factor. That's going to be a big time environment. I'm going with Nebraska, but Shedeur Sanders can keep them in the game just with his playmaking.
Doesn't this feel like a huge game for Matt Rule?
Oh, yeah.
It
Oh, yeah.
it feels bigger for Matt Rule than it does for Deion Sanders
Oh, there's no doubt.
because and you're starting your 5-star true freshman quarterback that the entire fan base is just ecstatic about. It's year 2. You were hired to resurrect Nebraska football from the ashes. You got to win this game if you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because
No,
from a talent standpoint, you have a more talented roster probably if you're Nebraska. Now you don't have Travis Hunter. But that's the thing about this game. Nebraska's good on defense.
yeah, they're solid.
I trust them to have a plan to limit Travis Hunter's impact on offense. And Colorado couldn't run the ball against North Dakota State. I can't imagine they're going to find a bunch of success running the rock against Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska is this is not a new thing. It's always been like this. They are huge on the offensive and defensive line. They've got just some gigantic players.
I like Nebraska to win, and I kind of could see it by double digits. Now, Raiola has to be smart with the football.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest football game of his life.
Yep.
And you really never know how a young guy's going to respond in an environment like that. But if he just takes what the Colorado defense gives them and then hits a couple of the big shots down the field that he is certainly capable of hitting, I see Nebraska winning this football game.
Yeah.
But there's always this X factor of, hey, if Travis Hunter gets some one-on-one matchups and just goes off, then you never know. But I just think overall that Nebraska defense is kind of the differentiator in this one for me.
It's going to be a lot more difficult for Travis Hunter in this game. I'm not exactly sure what Nebraska's got at corner, but you're going to see quite a big step up in quality at the corner position in the secondary with Nebraska compared to what they saw a week ago. And you're right. I think the big thing that you hit on there that is like if you're Nebraska and you get a 2-3 score lead and you're Raiola, don't get the big eyes on trying to make some of these highlight reel plays because all it takes is a turnover and Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter to hook up, and all of a sudden they can be right back in the football game. So I agree with you.
We both like Nebraska, which means Colorado by double digits.
Yeah. It is kind of an interesting game to pick because Nebraska has been in these situations over the last couple of years, and it's like, here it is. Here you go. This is the one.
Remember Jeff Sims in this game a year ago? Just handing the ball to Colorado repeatedly. I don't think that's going to happen again. So really the reason I like Nebraska is the defense. I think they're going to make things difficult on Colorado, but I'm sure that's a great point, Ted. Can Nebraska avoid the just ridiculous
anxiety,
ridiculous mistakes that have plagued that program over the last couple of years that Matt Rule was brought in to alleviate?
Yep. That's the thing to watch. It's like they're the better team. They're at home. They've got the better players across the board, but there's like some unknown force that's keeping them from winning.
We'll see. All right, one more game. Number 14, Tennessee will take on number 24, NC State. This game is at the Panther Stadium in Charlotte. 6:30 kickoff on ABC. Currently, Tennessee is a 7.5-point favorite, and Nico Iamaleava looked very good in their opener. I know it was against Chattanooga, but still, the guy absolutely looks the part, playing on time, looks like he has an absolute rocket of an arm. And meanwhile, on the other side of things, NC State was down 21-17 heading into the fourth quarter against Western Carolina in their opener. Now they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and won 38-21, but that game felt awkward for quite some time. So what do you think, Ted? The Vols, I hate to say it, but they kind of look like the real deal this season.
I think they just. I would be shocked if NC State. I guess it wouldn't shock me if they go to halftime and they're within reach, but I don't think they have the personnel. And Iamaleava for Tennessee is young, and the turnovers can pop up at any time. We haven't seen it yet. He's looked solid in the two games where he's had a lot of playing time. Did he start the bowl game? He did.
And looked really good.
His two starts have looked good. He hasn't put the ball in danger, but as a young player, it can pop up at any time. I mean, that to me, it's the only way NC State is able to hang around in this one is if the turnovers show up. I kind of expect Tennessee to separate in the second half. I mean, I'd pick them to win by 17 probably. I know it's a tight line, but it just kind of feels that way.
I'm with you. I see Tennessee winning this one by double digits. I do think NC State is a better football team than they showed in the opener.
Mm-hmm.
I like Grayson McCall a lot. I just don't think they'll be able to keep pace with Nico and the Vols offense. And one of the things about this Tennessee offense and all the discussions about Nico and the wide receivers, and I get that with the big plays that Hype's offense produces. I think they're going to run it really well in this game. And I think that is what's going to set up Nico to take those deep shots down the field. And even though NC State has an awesome name combination at wide receiver with Kevin Concepcion and Justin Jolie, just awesome wide receiver names, I just don't think those guys are going to be able to produce or match the chunk plays that Tennessee produces in this game. The crowd, is it going to be a 50-50 crowd in Charlotte? I know the Vols fans travel really well. I don't know what that's really going to look like.
Where's NC State?
It's in Carolina. It's in North Carolina.
Well, I mean, is it
Let's
close
see
to
how
Charlotte?
close it is. Stall 10, and I will. It's in Raleigh, so how close is Raleigh to
I think
Charlotte?
Is Raleigh north of Charlotte? I don't know. Don't get me lying. I imagine it's got to be
2 hours and 22 minutes.
NC State. They're a top 25 team. They've been a solid program recently. I imagine that this has been built up pretty big for that fan base. You got to imagine that they're going to show up in some big numbers too. Tennessee's going to have more just because they have a bigger fan base. There's more people with a chance to buy out some of those tickets. But I would expect it to be fairly close.
Yeah, Tennessee's not
Sold
a bad
out,
drive
though.
either. So
it's going to be a big atmosphere. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it should be. I think you're going to see quite a bit of orange. Yeah, it's 3 hours and 42 minutes from Knoxville. So I wouldn't be surprised with how big of a fan base Tennessee's got. And NC State, that's an underrated fan base, man. Those people get after it. But yeah. I think it's going to be pretty even though the game's being played in the state of North Carolina.
Yep, I agree.
All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, I guess they weren't a winner whenever their first round draft pick got shot in a robbery, but the 49ers did sign Trent Williams. The holdout is over. He's inked another large deal. What's he going to get? 27 million this year, 82 over 3. Got some more guarantee. I guess the guaranteed money had run out on his other contract, so they were able to ink him back up. Making the big money continues for former Sooner football players.
It's been quite the run between Creed Humphrey, CD Lamb, and Trent Williams, and Baker's contract with the Bucks. It's been a good run. How pissed do you think the Jets D linemen were when they saw that?
Oh,
Damn
yeah,
it.
it's like, hopefully, maybe fingers crossed, it's going to hold out. It's so weird. Why did teams do this? It always happens. It's the same thing with CD Lamb. Why have your best offensive player miss the entire training camp acting like you're not going to get the deal done? Now, Trent Williams, I don't know that I'd have him practice anyways, as much experience as he has and everything, but these deals always get done unless, I guess, your Le'Veon Bell, is that the only one I can ever think of that didn't get done? But other than that, it seems like they always get done.
49ers got the Ayuk deal done as well. So that happens when you mention Pearsall got shot.
Yeah.
That was crazy reading about that story.
Nuts.
But yes, the San Francisco 49ers, that offensive line without Trent Williams is with some of the injuries they have, especially in the interior right now, heading into the season, not a great O-line situation for Brock Purdy. But somehow getting Trent Williams back, it makes
changer.
you feel like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you put a guy like that over there on the edge, and then all of a sudden everyone else probably starts playing a little bit better too.
What's McCaffrey's status?
Who knows? Probably ankle, if his status is he'll play and have a huge year, unless he's on my fantasy team, then he'll have a phantom ankle injury where he's not even hurt, but he'll miss the entire season. It's just how it works.
They're on Monday Night Football against the Jets. Injury report, Christian McCaffrey, questionable.
He'll play.
I hope so. That's going to be a fun Monday Night Football
you
game.
do want to see you want to see all the best matchups out there.
All right, who do you have as your loser of the week?
Oh my God, Florida State, what is happening? Now, obviously, when you lose twice before the AP can even put out their first week's poll, you're going to drop out of the rankings pretty significantly. But they've dropped 2 conference games to 2 teams, which, let's be honest. I think Georgia Tech is quite a bit better than people expected. And Boston College, there was a lot of people talking about Boston College before this football game. They looked really solid too. But Florida State, you have to be able to win those games. Here's what I'm worried about, Gabe. It's a different era. You lose your first 2 weeks, and how many guys are starting to, hit those DMs and look around at college football and see what else maybe is out there?
I would not be surprised if some players are being contacted, and if some of those Florida State players are also throwing some feelers out there, but you can't go anywhere during the season. You're stuck where you're stuck. So that is, you talk about an absolute nightmare start for the Florida State team. Such a fun season a year ago. They complained all off season. And then you start 0-2 and everyone is clowning you. And maybe the worst thing of all, Boston College could have scored late in the game. They were running it down their face. And Bill O'Brien went, you know what? Let's take a knee. These guys, this is a rough couple weeks for these young men. Let's just take a knee. I mean, the ultimate insult to injury. Oh, brutal.
Yeah, it's one of those where I don't know I don't know what's worse, kneeing it on you or
Oh,
running it, punching another one in.
kneeing it on you is worse. It's absolutely worse because it's like, hey, we know we're trying to be classy here. We know if we run a play, we are going to score on you.
Oh man, that's wild. Yeah, it's um yeah, everyone's pointed out that after the old big lawsuit with Florida State and Clemson, not going well.
They are over. The teams suing the conference are over.
Right.
I am. I
And
think that.
did you see that Georgia has beat the ACC's two best teams in the last two games? Like, what was it, like 90 something to 6, 98 to
Well,
6, something like that?
Georgia is a wagon. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will say the Florida State offensive line was supposed to be better. And DJU has taken a ton of heat, and he should, right? That's what comes with the quarterback position. But he had to throw it 42 times in that game. That is not a recipe for offensive success. And that's on the O line. Like, they could not move Boston College off the line of scrimmage. They had 21 yards rushing. Cam Davis had 3 carries for 11 yards, and Roydell Williams had 3 carries for 10 yards.
Right. Well,
So were they loading up the box and you're just saying, hey, we got to throw it into this look? Is that what it was? Do they have that little respect for DJU? Possibly. Or is it, hey, this O-line's not getting it done either? Probably a combination of both.
I think it's a little bit of everything. And that was the big guess for me. Like, or the question for me is the Florida State program, was it really on the rise? Or did they just happen to have a good core group, stayed together for a long time, won a bunch of games, and then those guys have dissolved and there's not much else left? Looks like the latter.
Yep. All right, let's get to my winner and loser first.
We're brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. We all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. My wife and I made HelloFresh's crispy kickin' cayenne chicken cutlets with mashed potatoes, carrots, and a honey drizzle the other night. Easy to follow the instruction. Only took us about 30 minutes. It was delicious. HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week. Tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery day or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. For free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown. One free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
And what if for the rest of 2024, you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. 1 in 5 Americans have learn a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make 2024 the year you finally check it off the list with Babbel. And here's a special offer for our listeners, and it is only for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Oklahoma. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Just use Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. And if you want a live classroom experience from the comfort of your home, Babbel Live is just for you. Babbel Live classes are available 7 days a week at any time of day and taught by over 450 certified teachers so you can learn on your schedule. A lot of people around here say, hey, man, I want to learn Spanish. Use Babbel. Babbel's perfect for you. If you're one of those people that want to learn Spanish, Babbel's what you need. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/Oklahoma. That's BABBEL.com/Oklahoma. Rules and restrictions may apply. For my winner of the week, thought about going with Caitlin Clark. Ted went and watched the Dallas Wings take on the Indiana Fever on Sunday, and my goodness, she's like the Beatles.
Yeah.
I've seriously never seen anything like it in pro sports. NFL, NBA, like Caitlin Clark jerseys everywhere. Caitlin Clark on shirts everywhere. You know how when the Warriors come to play the Thunder, like Thunder fans get mad at how many Steph Curry jerseys there are?
Yeah.
Because kids love Steph Curry.
Sure.
Adults, kids, men, women, didn't matter. Caitlin Clark stuff everywhere, dude.
Wow.
Never seen anything like it.
And it's like that everywhere she goes.
They took over the arena.
Where did they play?
What do you mean? At the Pacers arena?
Oh, I thought whenever is that?
You mean no, the Wings. The Wings play at UT Arlington's arena.
Okay.
Not a seat empty.
Wow.
Packed. In Indiana Fever. And it wasn't, I don't even know if they were cheered for the Fever. They were cheered for Caitlin Clark.
Every time she touches the ball, it's just like.
And this is the thing is, Arike Agumbawale tied the WNBA record. She hit 9 threes in this game. And Caitlin Clark didn't even play very well, in my opinion. And I look up at the end of the game, she's got 28 and 12.
Yeah. She's leading the league in assists, right?
They just clinched playoff berth.
Like when 8 out of the last 10, something like that. They're rolling.
She's like Taylor Swift of women's athletics. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it in professional American sports. It was nuts.
That's wild. And
took over the arena.
Too. Yeah. It's legit. Like from what I've seen, like from where she started this year to like how they're playing right now. I don't know a whole lot about basketball, but I know that she shoots the three really well and deeper than a lot of people. And that's kind of the excitement about her game, but she can pass. And the way she runs that offense, and they take advantage of people, slow to get back on defense. It's pretty fun to watch.
She's got a great handle and she's got great vision.
Mm-hmm.
Her pick and roll passing game is top notch. And Kelsey Mitchell, for them, little small, lightning quick lefty is an absolute problem. They're fun to watch. But the Caitlin Clark experience was insane. Place was full 30 minutes before the game, which I've been to a lot of these games. It's never like that.
Right. Yeah.
And it was packed, and it felt like if you would have said, hey, who is playing a home game right now, it would be the Fever. It was insane. I don't even know. Like, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, playoffs are going to be interesting. Like the way they're playing right now, it's a totally different basketball team than it was the first third of the season.
Should be fun. Lock into the WNBA, people. Fun product. My winner of the week, though, I'm not afraid to do it. Give me the USC Trojans.
Look good.
I thought they looked solid against LSU. I don't think they're an elite team, but you just have to acknowledge that's a really nice win for Lincoln Riley and USC to start their season.
Hey, I thought the biggest advantage, and we talked about it, was how good LSU's offensive line was supposed to be. Boy, USC's defensive line got after them pretty good.
I do not know why LSU did not run the ball more.
Yeah.
I've got no idea. They had Nussmeier throw it 38 times, and they only ran it 26 times.
It looked like at a point in the game they were going to start to walk away with it, and things flipped on them.
John Emery had 10 carries. Someone's going to have to explain that to me. They didn't. This is the thing. They didn't give that offensive line a chance to take over the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Which you can't take over the game as an O-line if you aren't given a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And those body blows add up. And that's how you take over a game in the second half. It's like you wear the defense down, and that's just they didn't call the game that way. And I understand they've got big time playmakers at wide receiver. I get it. Kyron Lacy is like he's fun to watch. I get it. But I thought that was going to be their advantage, and that's just not how they called the game. I wasn't blown away by USC's defense. However, I have an immense amount of respect for a group when they go out and they execute the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked to me like the game plan was, hey, let's keep everything in front of us. Let's be a better tackling team when the other team catches the ball in space, and let's make LSU execute in the red zone. Let's shrink the field and make them execute. And LSU did not execute in the red zone well enough to win the football game.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly was pissed after the game. He's smacking tables.
Yeah. That was expected, I guess, from him. But, I think it's almost like, not running the ball enough. It's almost like LSU called the game the same way they did a year ago when they had a quarterback that's going to get you out of everything. We don't need to run the ball. Like, the quarterback's going to get us a bunch of rushing yards on broken plays and stuff. They don't have that playmaker on offense anymore, and you can tell.
A lot of people are talking about USC's defense. I thought the real story of the game was their offensive line. Their O-line last year was BAD bad.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I thought that they did a nice job of keeping Miller Moss clean. And Miller Moss, turns out Lincoln Riley knows what he's doing when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, he looked good.
Yeah. It's one of the things I said after watching their bowl game. I feel like Caleb Williams does incredible stuff, but I feel like with Miller Moss, you get like more of what you think of Lincoln Riley's offense, right? Quarterback distributing from the pocket, getting the ball around to some of the playmakers, letting those passing concepts run the route. But the offensive line was the big critical piece of that, obviously.
I think this is a very complimentary thing for Miller Moss. I think he manages the game well and he plays on time.
That's right.
And I think that's what Lincoln wants.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get it twisted. Miller Moss had some absolute dimes in this game. Like that cover 2 shot to Kyron Hudson on the last drive of the game. And Hudson got blasted, but that's a big time throw, man. Like he's got some stuff to him, but I think the most complimentary thing I can say about USC is they didn't leave it up to the kicker at the end. They went and scored a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
Yep.
Never leave it up to the kicker. Go score.
Never. But I agree. I thought that was a big time win for USC. At least silence some of the critics early on. In this game, I was not feeling great about this game as it got closer and closer. And I think you still have to wonder how good is USC going to be, like what's their ceiling, but that silenced a lot. There was a lot of heat on Lincoln Riley, and they came out and won a big game.
They didn't do a bunch of the dumb stuff LSU did. Fake shooting guys with the gun as your celebration.
Jeez.
Taking your helmet off on the field, roughing the passer. Like Brian Kelly, I get why he was pounding the table after the game, even though some people are like, he would, that was, yeah, it felt a little performative. It did, but
Yeah, because he wasn't like, I mean, there needs to be like a really strong buildup where we can see the anger
well,
growing.
he, if you watch the entire press conference, he kind of just keeps repeating
Yeah.
the same stuff about the same mistakes that has him upset, and then it builds to the fist pound.
Oh man. Yeah. Well,
He was not pleased.
yeah. What what do you make of LSU the rest of the season?
They
They have a tough schedule, like everyone, I guess.
I think that if they can get beat by USC, they can get beat by 5 or 6 teams on their schedule.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I think the home environment there in Baton Rouge, yeah, you got to factor that in and what it means for that team when they're on
Oh
that
my
field.
God. How about the like you want to talk about a dramatic change? That LSU crowd was like the party was starting when it looked like they were about to run away with that football game. And then boy, did things turn and that attitude changed real quick.
Yeah, we'll see how much better they can get.
Yeah, they will.
I,
They'll improve.
I think they need to reevaluate how they call the game offensively.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I think they're going to adjust to their personnel in time.
My loser of the week, productive Sundays, they're over. Gone. NFL season is here, Ted, and I know clearly we focus mainly on college football on here, but I love the NFL season because, and I don't play fantasy, and I know some people think I'm crazy because I don't, but my favorite thing to do on Sundays is to get nothing accomplished and to just sit on the couch and watch the best football players in the world go at it. I have very few emotional attachments to any of these teams, and I just can't wait. And it all starts on Thursday night with the Ravens and the Chiefs, which let's go. What a hell of a season opener. But I love being able to sit on the couch and watch stress free on Sundays. It's completely different than Saturday when I'm entirely too emotionally invested in what happens with Oklahoma football. It's just a great contrast, and I love it.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like college, it feels it's way more like every game, like you need something to happen almost in every game that you watch. And in the NFL, it's like a blank canvas. Just show me what you've got to offer this weekend. It's awesome.
I'm excited for Ravens at Chiefs. Chiefs going to reveal another banner. Mahomes and Lamar. Derrick Henry at running back for the Ravens. Got Xavier Worthy, the new weapon for Mahomes. A lot in that game. Do you see the Packers and Eagles are playing in Brazil on Friday night?
Friday night, they've told everyone be careful, don't go out around town before the games. It's too dangerous. It's pretty funny, but that should be a really good game, man. I'm interested to see how that one plays out.
Is it crazy that I think the Brazilian fans will be cheering for the Packers just because of the colors?
Pretty bold, bright colors, closer to that yellow's closer to what they got. Yeah, if you're
The
Green
yellow
Bay,
and green, that's Brazil's thing.
aren't they yellow and blue?
Yeah, but the green is
Yeah.
part of it's part of their jersey.
Do you cater to that and wear some bright yellow jerseys if you're Green Bay?
God, no. You
No.
can't do that. You can't do that if you're the Green Bay Packers.
Let's
Too
not
much
get crazy.
tradition.
Hey, now the old school Eagles unis were that yellow and blue.
Yeah.
Maybe they go throwback.
We'll see, but that's going to be awesome. You've got some OU ties, right? Kyler Murray coming back.
Yep.
Cardinals have the Bills. Baker and the Bucks host the Commanders with Daniels at quarterback. That'll be fun to watch. Rams Lions on Sunday Night
Big
Football.
one. Big one.
That's going to be awesome. So the only question I have for you, Ted, is are you in and out or on fantasy football this year?
I'm in, baby.
Oh, yes.
I'm in.
I am permanently out.
Permanently?
Dude, I love not having to worry about any of that on Sunday. I love not having to set my lineup. We do this podcast on Sundays. I love when I'm done with it. I get everything posted and it's like this giant sigh of relief. I've got nothing else to worry about other than what my wife makes me do with my children, which I love my children dearly. But it's just, it's one less thing to worry about, man. I love it. I love not
Hey,
playing fantasy. I know I know
me.
it's weird.
I love to torture myself. You know
Yes.
that.
Glutton for punishment. That's you.
A random game that has no bearing on anything will have me just like sweating bullets, angry, ready to throw stuff through the television.
And I am fully aware that I'm a bit of a high-strung guy. I'm very regimented, just like can be a little much at times. I'm fully aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I don't have to go to sleep Sunday night hoping that this one player that I need to score 19 points on Monday Night Football to win my fantasy matchup, like the fact that I don't have to sleep and then worry about it all Monday, I love that. I love not having that as part of my life.
Well,
because I will think about it all day. Like, oh my gosh, Ayuk has to score 18 points or else I lose to my cousin's friend's barber or whatever,
right. Well, you know how I operate, and you can just imagine the F-bombs being screamed through my house on a Sunday afternoon. And my wife's like, you need to go take a break. Just go do something else.
Guy drops a touchdown. You are an idiot.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew they'd do that. Of course. It's what kills you. The worst thing is whenever there's like a 2-minute drill and you have you're going against a receiver and they're in a game, they're down like 3 touchdowns. Doesn't matter at all. They should just be trying to hand it off, get out of the game without any injuries, and they go right down the field, score a touchdown. The guy you're going against had 4 catches in the final touchdown, and you lose. All too familiar.
I love fantasy football. It's awesome. I think it's grown the viewership of the NFL immensely. I think it's brought so many more casual fans into the fold. I just love not doing it.
Smart man. Smart man.
Birthday shout outs. Happy 28th birthday to Tristan Graham.
Happy 47th birthday to Brian Graham.
On that note, episode 454 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, and if you're one of the 40%ers that are watching our stuff on YouTube and you aren't subscribed, come on, man. Subscribe. It's free. It costs you nothing. It helps us out.
Don't be a 40%er.
Don't be be a 60%er.
There you go.
Love you 60%ers out there. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the game. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.